Hello, welcome ladies and gentlemen. My name is Emily Turner and today we're discussing how digital and remote tower technologies has helped manage the COVID-19 crisis. And today we have two acknowledged experts in the field who will explain how this advanced technology is meeting operational objectives during the global pandemic. I don't need to remind anyone just how digital technologies have started to allow air traffic controllers to work remotely, even serving airspace beyond regional and national borders. So it's no surprise to anyone that the global crisis is showing how this technology potential to provide them with vital redundancy and business continuity in safety critical operations. So let me introduce our two speakers. Csaba Gergely is a senior ATM expert with HungaroControl, and with more than 30 years experience as an air traffic controller, including a decade service as head of tower, Csaba has been central to the ANSP's development of remote tower technology. He's still working as an active air traffic controller, and he'll be sharing his first-hand experience of the advanced technology that is enhancing operational safety and efficiency during the COVID crisis. And our second speaker is Pat Urbanek, and many of you will know Pat as a key account executive with Searidge Technologies. And Pat works very closely with airports and ANSPs on their strategic service management solutions and strategies, which apply Searidge's expertise in advanced video applications and unique software solutions. And he'll be talking about remote technology from the vendor's point of view and how the original low traffic, low complexity vision is evolving to offer more powerful solutions for medium and large airports. So there will be an opportunity to ask questions at the end of the presentation, but first let's hear how Pat can give us a more of an insight into Searidge's journey towards the Digital Tower 3.0. It's over to you, Pat.
Thank you, Amy. So I wanted to just speak a little bit about from the vendor's point of view and kind of how Searidge has seen the market around digital towers really evolve over the past 5-6 years. So of course, we are very familiar with the remote tower concept, or kind of the digital tower 1.0 concept, where the technology for remoting air traffic service operations for low density, small aerodromes and advisory services was kind of introduced and essentially adopted through the regulatory aspect of the industry. But in parallel, very closely, what we have seen is actually a much wider acceptance in terms of the technology at large and medium airports. And of course, beyond just remoting the out the window view using electro-optical or camera technologies, a lot of the value add for the larger and medium airports, of course, that have much higher traffic volumes, different complexities, and different operational needs, is around the applications that were built around the baseline out the window, digital out the window functionality. So I have a few examples here, but I'll mention a few. Of course, on the bottom right, you can see that through the use of camera technologies and of course the flexibility of placing cameras around the airfield at a very basic level at large and medium airports, we're able to provide much better visibility to controllers, much better situational awareness, of course, integration of data as overlays, everything from AS and GCS through the ATM suite was able to be provided on an augmented view. So at larger airports with much wider spaces, the visibility from the tower was able to be enhanced. And of course, adding technologies such as AI and video processing, we're able to also develop out much different applications. So kind of going from the top right there, applications such as our approach monitoring system, of course, extending the controller's eyes, monitoring a safe landing approach beyond the 4 nautical mile mark. We're looking at, of course, from the runway going into the apron and the stand areas, and again, evolving out our suite of software around AI, we started teaching the machine around the more complex operations around the aprons, which are of course inherently linked to the overall terminal and runway operation as well. So again, it's about deriving those efficiencies as well as safety. And then moving over to the top left, this is an application that we have coined hold line surveillance system, but it's essentially looking at this very critical intersection between the runway and the taxiways, where the aircraft are either entering or exiting the taxiway. And again, teaching the system to be essentially an assistant to the controller by providing additional surveillance capabilities in an automated fashion, where that is a digitized signal, not necessarily video, again, to help the controller ultimately at these busy airports make the right decision. And then, of course, again, coming down around the different aspects of the operation in a larger, more complex airfield, everything from the augmentation to signaling certain aspects. For example, in the bottom left, I'll give an example like a pushback, where the clearance delivery or the different roles within the tower can be supported by different applications of this digital tower 2.0. And essentially what we have seen a steady evolution, and even from our humble beginnings back in 2008, when we introduced actual camera technology and intelligent video to tower operations, which was, again, the first of in the industry, how we have seen kind of medium airports, larger, and especially high intensity runway operation airports adopt this technology. They've built several use cases and business cases around being able to invest in either the whole solution, of course, like HungaroControl, which I'll share a little bit of a story around that, which is a completely off-site, off the airport premises digital tower that allowed them to provide a full contingency, and now, of course, evolving more so through this COVID times into a full-time operation without any limitations, with, of course, the intention to add on these applications to enhance operational safety, performance, and resiliency. So I'll give another quick example here on the very left. You can see that this is actually a tower operation. This is in Paris Orly, where we deployed the technology a couple of years ago. And the main purpose here was to actually augment an existing contingency tower during renovation times. And essentially, you can see this is more of a hybrid type model, where we have the video presentation augmentation to the actual out the window view, gap filling the limitations of the existing contingency tower to enable the operation there to maintain its 100% capacity as they would be in the traditional tower that was being renovated. But inherently, of course, through the users getting this custom piece of technology for them, we also provided them very inherent enhancements. So in the bottom left, you can see, of course, during low visibility, this is below 100-meter visibility in the fog, you can see the window is completely, has no out the window view towards the airfield and the stand areas. Whereas the video in this hybrid model was still able to provide controllers situational awareness beyond what that window view would provide them. So essentially how that evolved is, even after migrating back to their traditional tower, the system remained, because it inherently proved itself to not only provide that gap fill for the visibility limitations, but actually enhance the complex operation. And the bottom right, I'm also kind of providing that a lot of these applications around Digital Tower 2.0 aren't necessarily video presentation based. This is an example how we're applying AI technology and building out different AI-based applications to take advantage of the huge amounts of dispersed data that are typically found in the tower environment. So we're first integrating all that data of course, augmenting video, but at the same time, we're using that data being processed to provide enhancements to the operation, mainly around supporting the controller's workload and decision making. And where I wanted to really evolve here towards Budapest and HungaroControl, of course, this journey with HungaroControl and looking at digital remote towers as a first in the industry back in 2013, 2014, where really the concept in terms of truly remote certified tower operations was really pigeonholed for these small types of low density operations. HungaroControl saw the vision and had the vision that this technology could easily be applied to their operation, where they were looking at either building a new air traffic control tower in a very complex operation, meaning I'm sure Csaba will be able to shed some light there, but it is a very large airfield. It is a capital airport. It might be classified as a medium airport, but of course, this is the capital airport for Budapest. So inherently, it has great socioeconomic dependencies where the operation has to keep going 24/7, 365. So for HungaroControl to actually invest and turn the vision of applying digital towers to their operation was really revolutionary. And of course, they were out in the industry. We were one of the lucky vendors to have been approached. And essentially, our platform being quite modular, and we had some experience working already with larger airports like Abu Dhabi and Malta, we're able to customize a solution essentially for their vision and to really have a very fit in supporting their operational challenges within the tower, which of course, we were able to support them on their journey from going from a concept to, of course, through the Cesar programs, validating that through shadow and live operations. And of course, over the past 5 years, we have been fine-tuning and adding functionalities to this operation, as it is an evolving thing, because controllers, of course, the more they use it over the years, logging thousands of hours of full control, they look to Searidge as a vendor to bring the latest and greatest technology as incremental upgrades into the Budapest Remote Tower Center, but of course, also fine-tuning that for operational needs that are actually coming up because the traffic levels have been going up. So this is just a little snapshot from the vendor, meaning from Searidge's point of view, but I'll hand it over to Csaba to share with everyone, of course, the quite unique application here of the digital tower in Budapest.
Well, good morning, everybody. So before starts to introduce our application of remote tower technology, the most common view for almost all European airports in the past 2 months, aircraft grounded. That means we had not too many traffic in the air, but the other half of the fleet were grounded all over the world, and that caused a very special situation, not only at HungaroControl, but many other ANSPs. So first of all, I would like to give you a short introduction how the traffic dropped and how we handled this special situation regarding the COVID virus. So this was the largest shutdown of air traffic, not only in Europe but worldwide, since 2010, when a volcano erupted in Ireland and Iceland, and almost the whole European airspace were closed for a couple of days, and we experienced the traffic-less services. But at that time, we get another kind of experience, and this time we had to deal with a completely other low traffic situation. Also, not only Europe-wise, but in Hungarian airspace, we lost more than 90% of the traffic, but we still had to manage that 10%, which had very huge importance in these days. I'm gonna tell you why and how. Now you can see traffic of Budapest Airport, and during last years you can see the graph showing an increasing number, and early this year we expected that 2020 will be a record-breaking year in movement numbers at Budapest, so expected the highest traffic volume this year. But then the virus came and everything has changed. The traffic not only disappeared from the airport, but it had different behavior. IFR movements decreased by almost over 90%, basically, whereas the cargo flights increased. Of course, these cargo flights, most of them carried not the usual cargo, but medical instruments and aids to Hungary and from Hungary to other countries as well. Also, because of the lack of high-intensity IFR traffic, we have many pilot training schools around the capital city, which rediscovered that there is a large airport with very well equipped, and they returned to Budapest using the ILS facilities for training purposes. So we had very solid VFR training traffic appeared in these months. Also, this very low traffic density period gave the airport company to make essential maintenance works around the airport. So runway closures and very extensive taxiway closures and even apron closures became a daily routine for the colleagues and for myself as well. So these were the situations, and now a couple of words about the airport, the specialties, what the remote the digital tower technology has to cope with in Budapest case. The airport, quite large area with 2 parallel runways and the 2 main terminals and 3 other smaller terminals like maintenance aprons and cargo apron as well. Well, the airport is very well equipped. We have full coverage of ASM GCS, which gives a very great importance in our contingency and live operations from the remote tower center. We have multiple control working positions, so it is a totally different layout from a small airport where usually one controller makes a one-man show handling the traffic. We have tower controller, ground controller, we have clearance delivery periodically open, and also we have a so-called coordinating position whose main role during snow clearing operations or emergency situations, handling the ground traffic at the airport. And also the supervisor who is controlling the whole unit. In the tower, we have more than 10 years experience of stripless operation. So using our main ATM system, which we call Matthias, we use not only stripless, but we do not have even electronic flight strips. We use just flight lists, and basically we are working with the airborne traffic in a label handling way. So this is the facility where we controlling even today the live traffic for Budapest Airport. In the background, you can see a large video screen, which is the main, let's say, out of the window image. And in the foreground, you can see a control working position with all the equipment, the screens, exactly the same layout. What do they have in the concrete tower? This layout gives us very flexible use of both locations, remote tower and the concrete tower as well. This is it has a very big importance in this special rostering period. I will talk about a bit later. So the remote tower technology can bring a lot of benefits. Pat talked some of them earlier, but in our situation, the main goal is not only operational safety benefits, but business continuity, and for major airports, for large airports like Budapest or others, the business continuity is a very important factor to cope with all fallbacks and contingency situations. We did have pretty much fallback situation in 7th of December 2012, where the whole tower building became powerless from 1 second to another, as the whole battery room was fully flooded, and there were no electricity at all, but the few radio stations and the radio HMIs we could handle, that gave us the opportunity safely grounded all the traffic and shut down the operation. That was a big trigger for us to launch this remote program to maintain business continuity and make the opportunity to have a contingency facility for situations to endanger the safe operations from the tower. Building a remote tower is not a plug-and-play system installation, but this is a continuous program, and we had several steps of designing the system, validating. We had in 2016 Cesar Budapest 2.0 project as a part. This remote tower facility was validated, and finally we get the license to use it as an operational one. And then we had established an operation system where we providing the everyday service from the concrete tower from the airport, and then we have a remote tower facility now using as a contingency in case anything should happen in the real tower, which gave us opportunity to provide regular competency maintaining operations, live operations in the past few years. And then when we can upgrade our camera system and the facility itself, the system itself will be matured enough, then we can have a decision point where we change the everyday operational location from the real tower to the remote tower facility. The next step in the future is aiming main standby kind of operation, where we're going to have two identical remote tower facility. One is used for everyday operations, and the other is used for simulation, system development, and contingency purposes. So this program has a few steps, and as you can see, we are right in the middle of it. So just as I mentioned, it is not a plug and play story, but it needs continuous development and upgrade. Results so far. As you can see, we have quite extensive live operational experience. And I would say thanks to this COVID situation, we had reached during this COVID rostering over 1,000 live operational hours. Although the traffic volume was not as high as the normal days, but still we could handle emergency situations. Personally, I was involved one of them. Also, the increased number of VFR traffic, which was unusual in the first time, but then controllers got used to it, and we can handle it without any issues or safety in doubt. By the end of this period, by the end of this special rostering, which will end 18th of June, in a couple of days, altogether, using our remote tower facility, we will reach and extend 2,000 live operational hours. I believe this is the largest operational experience worldwide so far, but I'm pretty much sure that this is the largest experience what we gathered operating a remote tower facility for this size of airport, this traffic volume, and this kind of mixed and intensity of the traffic. The special rostering. You can see two kind of table here. The upper demonstrates how the normal operational groups were working in a normal situation. You can see the 5 groups, A, B, C, D, E, and these are the roster, how they changed each other. In average, 8 controllers in a group, 12-hour shifts, and the whole operation 24-hour located in the real tower. In the bottom, you can see the special rostering where we had decided to separate the smaller groups, separate the controllers, just to avoid any kind of infections, which meant we had 9 5-person groups, and even we separated the shifts. All the day shifts, even today, is performing from the remote tower facility, and all the night shifts performed from the concrete tower. So this is how we dealt with this situation, and so far it became very safe and efficient. Some lessons learned. Time spent with this new technology is vital. As far as I mentioned in the past, we provided competency maintaining operations, which helped a lot. And today, the daily work and the shifts and the transition of the services became an everyday procedure, and no specialties. All air traffic controllers can do it very easy and comfortable. HMI design is a very important factor when a remote tower is designed and implemented, and it is key to the acceptance from the netcos. Picture quality, camera handling. Our system, I can say it's quite old. So camera technology can provide better and better solutions in each year, in each month. So we are also working together with Searidge to enhance our system and improve the capability of the systems. Nothing special with handling of unexpected and emergency situations. As I mentioned, we did have several of them, and the handling of these kind of situations proved no difference of using remote tower technology or providing service from an old-fashioned concrete tower. And now I give the word back to Pat. Thank you very much. Pat, your mic.
Oh, it's too early in the morning. Thanks, Csaba. Thank you very much. I wanted to end things off here by actually providing a couple use cases. London Heathrow, and I'll end up with Singapore Changi. Of course, building upon this momentum that HungaroControl built up with the larger airports' adoption of the technology. Of course, I'll start up with London Heathrow, where together with NATS, we have deployed a digital tower laboratory actually in the base of the London Heathrow Tower. And this is also really evolving and taking a very much agile and user-centric approach to developing technology. It was strategic that this laboratory was placed actually in the tower building to have readily accessed by the actual controllers who are working upstairs every day controlling traffic at London Heathrow, where it gave them the ability to come down and work directly with our engineers to evaluate and furthermore co-create and co-develop actually more advanced features to meet some of London Heathrow's operational challenges. Of course, I'll speak a little bit about maybe the technology in terms of the advancements. Of course, this is a full 4K system. Meaning 4K video sensors, 4K displays. This is a first of in terms of really adopting the much higher resolution type sensors. And essentially what we're able to provide is a validation to a direct comparison to the view upstairs of the windows. In London Heathrow's case, of course, it's around resiliency, around airport expansion with the third runway coming. So looking at the technology to not have to build an additional tower, but actually gap fill that with digital tower technology to maintain a more concise and more efficient operation. But the more advanced things that we actually looked at with the operational group were more prevalent challenges around resiliency and contingency. And resiliency really impacting back to the operational performance of the runways. And one use case that was a trigger point for developing our hold line surveillance system was a tower in the cloud operation where the cloud base actually went below the tower cab. And what happened inadvertently, the controllers lost direct line of sight to the runways, and different concept of operation and procedures, procedural control had to be adopted that resulted in about a 30% reduction, and it does result in a 30% reduction in traffic. When what we looked at to actually gap fill this is, again, applying AI technology to create essentially an assistant to the controller to help determine when the runway is cleared. And of course, how we present this information to the controller is also pretty revolutionary, because we're not actually, the intention is not to ever actually show video to the controllers, but have the machine make that determination and essentially provide the trigger point to show when the runway has been vacated by the aircraft, meaning the tail fins, wingtips have been safely past the runway safety zone, giving the controller that indication through their existing tower ATM tools, whether through ASM GCS or electronic flight strips, to then make that next landing clearance. This inadvertently, of course, by gap filling such limitations, enables London Heathrow to stay at maximum capacity for the longest time possible. But what I also wanted to show how this facility, and through co-creation, it's not only NATS that we're actually developing technology with. Heathrow Airport Limited, the airport operator, has also approached us, and we've done some work with them in the past around their de-icing operations. But in this case, we're looking at the surface movement operations, specifically where vehicles are intersecting active taxiways. So we're now deploying another application that has inherent benefits for both the airside operation and the tower operation, where we're going to be automating the traffic lighting to control vehicle traffic that intersects with aircraft taxiways that are being used. So again, it provides a very good use case in terms of co-creating the technology out of the lab, but actually pulling certain applications at different times to gap fill the immediate operational needs based on business cases. But ultimately, of course, the goal will be to adopt more and more digital technologies to eventually migrate to a full digital environment. The second use case I wanted to share with everyone here is with CAAS, which is the Civil Aviation Authority of Singapore. And CAAS has invested in now what it's becoming to be the largest undertaking for digital tower deployment at Singapore Changi Airport. The program is called the Smart Tower Prototype, but the prototype piece shouldn't be fooled, because even though this is a smaller deployment of the actual technology in Singapore, the program does involve the full end-to-end adoption of the technology into the operation. So I'll talk about the technology a little bit, but there is the aspect, of course, of training, running the safety case, and the regulatory approval. And what you guys are seeing here on the right, we're actually underway of supporting now CAAS of doing advanced shadow operations. So they are actively controlling traffic at Changi Airport using the system. The system essentially is the biggest digital tower deployment. There are over 100 camera sensors deployed throughout the airfield. So there are multiple panoramic or digital tower view clusters throughout the airport. We're able to ensure essentially a triple contingency of visibility. So in case any camera goes down or display or any cluster, we are always able to provide a view to the controllers. And of course, through this distributed type approach of camera placement that we started in Budapest, we're aiming to provide and are providing better control and better visibility. Some of the other features, of course, that are advanced, you can see the working position here. We have 2 layers of video between the video wall and the curved ultra high definition displays around the controller, but we are integrated with a slew of ATM and surveillance data. We're providing and pioneering some new features where, of course, the binocular views are also fully integrated with a heads-up display functionality. And with maturing this technology, of course, with CAAS, it's even though it's a smaller deployment, we have a configuration and validation for every single working position in the Changi Tower. And during these advanced shadow operations, there's seamless aircraft handoff between the positions in the digital tower and some of the positions that remain operational in the physical tower itself. And like many high-intensity runway operations, the use cases and the business cases actually are quite mirroring each other. So of course, Changi Airport is undergoing a third runway addition. So it will become a full 3-runway system airport, exactly like London Heathrow is planning, Hong Kong, and many others currently. And of course, the other aspect is the resiliency of the operation to have a contingency facility that's able to service a 2-runway and a 3-runway operation, and from an off-site location. And during our journey with CAS, of course, other use cases are being explored for adopting the technology, both in a fully digital and a hybrid type environment. So I just wanted to end off my piece with a couple use cases, again, reinforcing that the trend and the needs at larger airports, medium to large to HIRO, are quite evident. And of course, the flexibility of our digital tower platform, we're able to piecemeal some of these applications in the road to the eventual full digital facility like we have in Budapest. So I believe I'm still on time. Thank you, Amy. I'll hand it off to you.
Many thanks, Pat, Csaba. It's been so insightful. Thank you so much for that. We have a lot of questions actually, and I'm sure I'm going to actually try and group some of the questions together. I'm sure all the things that we won't be able to answer will actually receive a response in time from Searidge or HungaroControl. So basically, it comes down to the fact that the application of remote and digital tower technology is evolving, but the thing is that the evolution is actually generating more questions. Operations experts. One of the big things that is coming through on the questions is how significant was the ability of a remote tower facility? How significant was it in enabling social distancing through the pandemic? Perhaps, Csaba, you can answer that to kick off.
Well, just a remark to Pat's last few words. HungaroControl now became, with this over 2,000 live operational hours, I believe we became the world's largest or most experienced ANSP with this large-scale operation with remote tower technology, and we get used this experience in also we participated in the Changi project as well on behalf of Searidge Technologies, and also we can demonstrate, we can distribute, we can show our experience to other parties. Regarding how we benefited with this technology during these COVID operations, the location. Not every airport is able to provide and separate locations for tower controllers to provide service from. The remote tower technology is a way how to provide a location to provide service from. This is a vital, because in ACC environment, you can have a simulation facility where you can transfer the data, you can have more operations room to provide service from. But the tower is a unique location at an airport, and that's the remote tower technology can help with to open a new kind of service provision.
Right, thank you. So I have another question. It says, HungaroControl's remote tower has proven itself to counter threats to service continuity, such as COVID-19, but do the benefits still exist during normal operations?
Of course, we get benefits from this kind of operation in the everyday service provision. Not only having the cameras and all the time we can have the possibility to upgrade and develop the current systems what we do use in the tower. And as we duplicated all the systems to the remote tower, we can do the system developments from that other location without having a negative effect on the live operation.
Right. Here's one for Pat. Has Searidge developed COVID-specific solutions?
Well, I would just answer that question that inherently by providing a digital technology, we're able to provide essentially a digital, a social distancing tower. So specifically, we are our clients who have invested in the technology. Of course, the biggest and the most prevalent use cases, HungaroControl, are able to implement social distancing within their operations by maybe being able to sit at areas that aren't necessarily normally optimal for tower visibility, but through gap filling and hybrid types systems, we're able to ensure social distancing within operations. I guess not us, but we are enabling that through our technology.
Okay. We're getting a lot of questions about where this technology can be taken, both from a HungaroControl aspect and also Searidge. So can we talk about what's we've already obviously been talking about what's being used, but what's the intention in terms of terminal operations? Perhaps could you kick off?
Ed?
Oh, sorry, Amy, I didn't catch you.
We're talking about where's this technology going in terms of both of your obviously from the vendor point of view and the actually operational point of view. Getting a lot of questions about where HungaroControl want to take this technology.
Absolutely. Well, we're seeing the rapid adoption, like I mentioned, and that's why I wanted to point out, it's really the more complex, larger airports, capital city airports like Budapest, where the operational resiliency is paramount, and again, having those social and economic impacts for the operation to be impacted. So our clients, of course, are first able to adopt the technology to secure the operation by providing additional contingency and resiliency to the operation. But the other, and very close nearby, is looking at the performance of the operation. So of course, right up to COVID, we have been seeing record numbers in terms of traffic growth. Lot of major hub airports, of course, are rapidly expanding to be able to deal with this increased capacity, but with the foresight that eventually physical infrastructure expansion is not possible, and adding more controllers into towers or additional towers is not net in the same capacity increase. Whereas developing these digital tower applications, this is where our clients are seeing that they can actually make use of their existing infrastructure and tower operations without having to necessarily expand, through adopting technologies that assist the controllers to handle more traffic in traditional operations, and of course gap filling those situations like I shared with London Heathrow, where typically adverse weather conditions pose an impact to capacity. The technology is able to essentially gap fill and maintain traditional levels of capacity even in these adverse weather conditions. So we're seeing that trend happening quite rapidly. Of course, that is a journey to get there. We've taken that journey with several clients through the certification and regulatory approval process. And of course, with the users themselves, that's why we're very much from a bottom-up approach with the laboratories at each one of these larger sites where we're co-creating these applications. But I think to answer more concisely your question, everything is migrating towards a fully digitized operation for tower operations, to small and of course now more so larger airports.
Okay, Csaba, what's the vision going
Well,
forwards?
from ANS point of view, I continue Pat's way of thinking. Complete digitalization of service provision, the operation, is the future. And as I mentioned earlier, we have a strategic program to develop 2 identical remote tower facility, one for the live operation and the other for development and training and stuff like that. But the aim is definitely in worldwide, the airport environment is changing. All major airports run intensive capacity improving investments. So the location of the tower has to be changed time after time. The best example is Heathrow or even Frankfurt. So in large airports, digital technology will be the future. First step as a contingency, and then when the technology proven in these kind of conditions, then I believe they will transfer their operations to remote tower technology. So that is the future.
Okay, that's the future. You've gone through a lot of development, and a lot of people are asking, how do the air traffic controllers feel about the deployment of the technology? What were their opinions and feedback when they were starting to use it?
My short answer is good, as I'm an air traffic controller and I'm totally relaxed working in the remote tower facility. But I know it's a major issue, the controller's acceptance worldwide.
Yes.
If we take the holy trinity of safety, the human, the system, and the procedures, well, the system, the technology is already proven. It is capable to do what is designed for. It is capable to handle the traffic, capable to provide the best available visual images, the visual surveillance. Even camera technology can do better pictures than the human eye. So I believe the system, the technology is proven. The procedures can cover all the defects of the technology, all can be safety barriers towards the technological issues, or cover all other problems, issues, what cannot be solved by the technology.
Okay, so we have another, sorry.
To finish, what left? The human. The human is also proven that all our controllers can do the service from the remote tower, and all our colleagues in Sweden, in Norway, in Germany, in all other places where they have the remote towers in operation, that yes, the human can do this kind of operation from this kind of environment. The acceptance from this point is only an emotional and a human factor issue.
Right, thank you. We've got one sort of multi-level layer question, which perhaps you and Pat can answer. Were there any enhancements or modifications required to the remote tower to ensure it provided full capacity services during the contingency operations? And Pat, maybe you could actually feed in about any other applications by other ANSPs at this time? You know, bearing in mind the COVID situation is a global issue.
Thank you, Amy. Well, no, actually, I'll maybe kick off, Csaba. I'll let you take over that. The remote tower, the digital tower in Budapest, during the certification process, and of course through all the trials and ongoing operation before COVID-19, ensured full capacity, no limitations compared to the standard tower operation. I'll let Csaba maybe speak to that. But of course, we did provide from the get-go distributed cameras, which of course we're looking to expand. Every controller has video at the working position, integration with the AS and GCS and ATM data for levels of automation, like the automated binocular following, the enhancement to all the ATM data being present on the video, both on the CWP and the video all level. So those were already built in from the get-go. I did mention, of course, in terms of other applications that we're looking to potentially deploy in Budapest as well, given that it fits a specific operational need, is looking at automated runway clearances, enhancing safety nets, looking at the stand and turnaround process of the operation. Again, gelling everything together at larger airports, where of course it's not only safety, but operational performance and resiliency are very close behind.
Well, in our case, to take over the contingency operations, I mean the special COVID rostering, there were no any modification done. We use the remote tower facility as it was before. As I mentioned, even prior to this COVID situation, we had regular planned live operations for competency maintenance for the controllers. The COVID situation just became it more regular and more often. So previously we provided the Saturday day shift every week, 1 day per week from the remote tower facility. And when this special rostering became alive, we did every day shift from 20th of March until 18th of June. And that's it.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you so much for that. I think that I know that actually from the questions, everyone has enjoyed it and found it so useful. A lot of people are asking whether they can get a copy of the PowerPoint presentation and a video of the event. Pat, you'd probably be the best to answer that question.
Yes, we will make that available, of course.
Yes. Everybody's registered. I think there's a huge turnout for this webinar, and it's been a start, perhaps, of a faster journey towards the digital tower 3.0, isn't it?
Absolutely. Okay,
then, sir. Any wrap-up statements from Pat and Csaba? What do you say is the way forward, the vision?
Nothing for me. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope we will be able to share all our experiences in the next webinar.
Yes, brilliant. Pat?
Yes, well, I hope this unfortunate situation of COVID was an actual real proving ground for the adoption and the use case of this technology to enable the social distancing, securing a critical operation in the capital city like Budapest. And we're looking forward to working with our customers, both on the airport and the ANSP side, in their journeys of adopting this technology. And like you said, Amy, we're very eager to showcase the Remote Tower 3.0, But hopefully the next webinar won't be triggered by such an unfortunate event as COVID-19, but we're hoping to share all the new digital towers that are being adopted, and of course the advancements that are going to be put into Budapest. And thank you, everyone. Like Amy said, we will put up some links to make sure that folks have access to the presentation, the video, and would be more than happy to follow up individually with anyone who would be interested to learn more, of course, about the journeys of our different deployments and our technology. So thank you very much, everyone.
Marvelous. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.